we get the privilege of sitting down and talking to Buster Posey. Now, Buster, the show's going to sound a little bit different this morning with Brian Murphy on vacation. So we have Todd Husak filling in this morning, but always appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to sit down with the Murph and Marcus show. How we doing today, Buster?
Yeah, all good, guys. How you doing?
We're doing good, man, especially after the Giants were able to pull off that win down yesterday in Arizona to end that little bit of a 4-game losing streak. But Buster kind of wanted to start off big picture because we haven't talked to you in 3 weeks now. What has been your viewpoint of seeing this team battle back into contention and get back to a 500 record, now being 2 games out of that last wild card spot?
Yeah, it's been great to see. I mean, you could see the confidence picking up a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and really got the bats going. We're able to score some runs, and you know, you've been around baseball long enough, you know that stuff gets contagious. And you know, it hit a little bit of a lull, as you mentioned, the previous 4 games, and then really most of yesterday's game, but then came up with some big hits. Christian Koss with a big double with the bases loaded. And yeah, you know, it's definitely a game of momentum, and as we come down this final stretch, hopefully regain some of that momentum and swing some bats, pitch the ball, and play good defense.
Buster, Justin Verlander has been exceptional in his last 4 starts, allowing just 1 earned run. Bringing him in as the veteran leader of this team, have you gotten what you've expected out of him when you brought him in this offseason?
I'll be honest with you, I think it's been more. It's obviously, you know, I think JB would probably tell you the mileage that he has on him, some of the injuries that he's been through. You know, you don't know. You don't know sometimes when you're 22, let alone 42, how your body's going to get through a major league season. So it's just a huge credit to him and the diligence and work that he puts in, and the willpower to push through. You know, he's another guy who had a tough stretch, and as you mentioned, has been really, really good of late, and has given us a chance to win a game, and doing what he did yesterday, keeping us in the game as the bats were not going to start with, was huge. But again, I mean, this guy's in my eyes, future first ballot Hall of Famer, and you know you're going to, at minimum, you know you're going to get everything that he's got, and he's certainly done that for us this year.
Seeing the way that Justin Verlander threw the ball this year at age 42, you guys did sign him to a 1-year deal this past offseason. Would you guys be interested in bringing him back next year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something we'll have to discuss, but you know, for a multitude of reasons, he's been a great teammate. I think he's helped some of our younger guys learn how to prepare, and then he just sets an example by going out and performing and continuing to show up. And so, yeah, definitely something we'd be open to.
And now we'll move on from a 42-year-old to a 20-year-old. Now, Buster, we have to ask you about Bryce Eldridge making his debut. You know that we've talked about Bryce all season long, so talk to us about the decision and what you saw from his first couple games at the big league level.
I was really impressed with his composure. I always like to look at a young player as they move around a clubhouse, and you can get a sense of, you know, are there nerves? And, of course, everybody's going to have nerves, but Bryce is a really, I think, confident and sure of himself young man. And just in the box, I think it was some really positive signs. He took some tough pitches just below the zone that if you're overly anxious, you're probably going to offer at. And he smoked 2 balls. I mean, he hit them to the wrong part of the ballpark, and I don't think you say too many times those balls would have probably been homers in Oracle, but they probably would have been, if they weren't homers, they would have been pretty close. And you just hit them to the wrong part of the ballpark there in Arizona. But yeah, he's obviously extremely talented. But I was impressed with the composure that he showed, the ability you saw. His last at bat yesterday, he took a close 3-1 pitch just below the zone to get on base there with a walk. So it's good to see. You know, it's stuff that we've seen throughout the year in the minor leagues, but to come up at the big league level and have that type of patience was impressive.
You were a late season call-up early in your career. Were you able to sit with him and relay any interesting stories or advice from your experience being that late season call-up and how you can integrate into that clubhouse and be a part of the team, but also focus on doing your thing once a game starts?
No, I didn't. Our situations were pretty different. I was called up beginning of September, and then really didn't play very much at all, and had a few sporadic starts. And so his is definitely going to be different. Whereas we see him, getting some consistent at bats here as we finish these games up. So, like I mentioned, I think Bryce is confident in his routine and knowing what he needs to do, and don't think that it's necessary for me to sit down and have to explain that to him.
We've seen Bryce in the lineup the last couple of days as a DH. Do you guys have any interest or desire to see him at first base over these next 10 games?
Yeah, I think we're open. It's an ongoing discussion between us and Bo Mel and his coaching staff. I think most likely slot in at DH, but yeah, open to first as well.
Encarnacion has come up and did a good job last night with late game hitting. How is he fit into the team, and how do you see him going forward?
Well, he's a guy that has immense power, but then you see last night, has the ability to get down the count too and put a tough at bat together and find a way to get a hit. I'm always surprised watching him in the outfield. I think for being such a big man, he moves pretty well. So he definitely has some tools. We saw when he came back from I don't remember first or second time of the IL stint, but it was in Pittsburgh, and he had been hot in AAA on his rehab, and immediately came up and hit a couple of homers, hit some balls hard. So he's a dangerous bat. A guy we saw this spring, really had a great spring. Unfortunately, was hit with the injury bug, but somebody that we see that can really impact a lineup, lengthen it out, and do some damage.
Yeah, I thought he made some great defensive plays last night, but I thought Drew Gilbert did as well. Now, Drew Gilbert has been gaining some popularity among Giants fans, but also on a national level with the amount of energy that he has brought to the clubhouse. Just, Buster, what's your take on seeing Drew Gilbert, chewing on guys' shoulders and getting choked at by Matt Chapman?
Well, I'll go back to the game yesterday, the defensive plays you referenced. The ball they caught on the right field track was a great play. Kept the score 0-0. I think it was the next inning. He had a ball that he came in short to his right and made a great play as well. And if you haven't watched Drew Gilbert's pre-pitch routine, it's something worth watching. I've never seen anything like it. But he jumps straight up in the air. And it's his prep to be able to get the best jump that he possibly can. So I think what's exciting about Drew is he wants to be a complete player. He knows the value of defense. He knows the value of base running, and obviously with the bat, the value is there. But no, you talk to him and you see the wild man stuff in the dugout. But first and foremost, a little bit that I've had conversations with him and conversations with other people that know him. This guy wants to help win baseball games, and ultimately, I think that being his central focus is going to take him a long way.
We've had people text in and say, yeah, he reminds a little bit of Hunter Pence, or maybe even some older Giants fans say Danny Gladden. Do you remember playing with anybody who has that type of energy?
Yeah, I'd say Hunter definitely had the energy. I think it's different. Everybody's different, right? But you need those guys. You need those guys. Pablo was an energy guy. Trying to think who else. We had guys on the pitching staff that maybe didn't have the ability to show that energy in game because they might have been a relief pitcher or whatnot. But those are integral pieces to the team. And I think for it to really work, it has to be authentic. It's not something that you can just drum up. It has to be who you are. Because people, our fans, are very perceptive, and I think if it's something that seems too forced, it doesn't come off as well. And Drew's a unique one.
Buster Posey is the voice you hear this morning on the Giants Executive Show, sponsored by Redwood Credit Union. Redwood Credit Union is a financial partner that feels like home. Learn more at redwoodcu.org. And Buster, you brought up the rotation. Looks like you guys have Logan Webb and Robbie Ray lined up for the next two starts going to this weekend series against the Dodgers. Did have questions about the rotation Saturday and Sunday, and just overall your thoughts about maybe some of the younger guys running out of gas, or just your thoughts on what's happened with this rotation since Landon Roop went down, Hayden Burnsong was sent down, and just maybe the options you guys currently have in that rotation.
Yeah, I mean, losing Roop's a big one, right? Roop's a guy that has made huge strides, so losing him hurt for sure. I know Kaiway Thames' numbers have not been great overall, but he is a guy. We saw it in St. Louis. Unfortunately, had an inning get away from him, and then through four solid innings against the Diamondbacks. So he's a guy I think we feel like can go out there and has the ability to go through the lineup a couple of times and get guys out. But look, we're gonna have to do our best to piece it together. We're gonna have some guys step up. The McDonald's of the world that we called up, Beck, Bivens, and these guys have done it before and they can do it again. And it's these are the positions you want to be in. You want to be in these positions where it's a chance to show what you can do in a high pressure, high stakes environment, and it should be fun to watch. And again, you think back, at least I do, when you're a kid, these are the opportunities you want to be in. You want to be in the opportunity to pitch in a big game in a big spot when it really counts.
Two young pitchers that are going through rehab assignments right now, Carson Wishunt and Blade Tidwell. Do you think there's any possibility we could see them back before the season ends?
I think there's a possibility. We just got to monitor to see how they bounce back from some of their live sessions they've had. Get them in a game, hopefully here in the next few days in SAC before their season ends. But yeah, I do think it's a possibility.
Buster, the San Jose Giants won the California League Championship, your single A affiliate. Talk about that experience for them and then some of the young players that had a big impact for that team, bringing home the title.
Yeah, they were a fun team to follow this year. Of all of our supervisors or special assistants that would go in there, instructors, it was them and Eugene. I feel like they pointed to the most of just playing really good, solid, fundamental baseball. Obviously very talented. Dakota Jordan's a guy that has immense power and tool set. And then you had younger pitchers come up from the complex league throughout the year that we're excited about as well. But, talking to Randy Wynn, he probably mentioned it to me 5 or 6 times throughout the year, just his excitement about the progress that those players were making as a whole, and just doing some of the small stuff that goes unnoticed, the balls in the dirt, taking the extra base, constantly putting pressure on the other team. So it's great. It's great to see that that type of baseball paid off for them. Culminated in winning a championship for that team. And it's good when you put in the hard work and you get to see the results.
Just to wrap everything up, Buster, 10 games left in the season. You guys are 76-76, 2 games out of that last wild card spot. What would be your message to the team and to the fan base of how you want to see this team finish out these final 10 games?
Well, it's one game. It's one inning. It's one pitch at a time. I mean, it's you try to do that through the length of the season. It's difficult at times, right? When you're playing for 6 months, 162 games. But that'd be my main message right now is you can't look at it as 10 games. You have to look at it that, when the bell rings tonight at 7:00, it's the focus is so heightened on each and every pitch, and you're trying to win these little battles throughout the game. If you're able to win enough of those little battles, that turns into a win, and then you go and you do it the next night and see where things stand after 10 games.
Yeah. Buster, real quick, I'm good buddies with Dave Fleming. I called Stanford football games with him, and he used to tell me he would get off the bus when they would travel, and people would come up asking him for his autograph thinking he was Buster Posey. So he would have to deal with a lot of disappointed fans when it turned out he was just Dave Fleming. But he did relay a funny story at your charity event the other night where you had him replay the call of Edgar Renteria. Talk a little bit about your charity and some of the work you've done there, and then a quick note about Dave Fleming.
Yeah, Flem was a good sport about that. We had a great night at the ballpark very grateful for the Giants letting us have it on the field, and had a lot of generous people there. We're able to raise a lot of money for pediatric cancer research, and I think it was Dwayne Kuiper's idea that with all the broadcasters there, we could auction off people to do their home run calls. And Shayna Dom, one of my coworkers, she bought Fleming's and then made me do the call. And Fleming, I've known him for a long time now, and he and Javi Lopez, who call games together now, have a great friendship. And I remember, for years after Flem made that call in the 2010 World Series, Javi would have his voice crack when Flem was getting on the plane. Flem's face would kind of turn red. So I thought, this will be a fun time to see how I can try to emulate this call. And Dave was great. And it turned in. It's a somber night. There's a lot of sadness, obviously, because there's children that have been lost. But it's also a hopeful night when you see people come together and rally to around the cause to try to help families not go through what some others unfortunately have suffered.
Buster, as always, we really appreciate your time and transparency. Thanks for joining the Murph and Marcus show this morning, and we'll take it one pitch and one inning at a time tonight down at Dodger Stadium, and hopefully Logan Webb and the Giants get that W.
All right, guys. Thanks. Take care.
Perfect. There he is, President of Baseball Operations, Buster Posey.